It's new bike day. Hashtag NBD. Congratulations. Maybe today is your first new motorcycle, or look who came to visit us. Chase is here. Or maybe today is your second or third new motorcycle. Oh, wait, hold on a second.
It's new bike day. What can I say? I guess I have a type. But in any case, today we're gonna go over the 3 things I do with every new motorcycle as soon as I bring it home. Before we dive in, will you just indulge me for a minute? Let me show you my new motorcycle real quick. I won't take too much of your time. This is the Ducati Multistrada Pikes Peak. With a Gran Turismo V4 motor, it retains the brilliant single-sided swing arm, as well as my favorite, the 17-inch front wheel. I just love how a 17-inch front wheel handles. But anyway, let's just get back to you and your bike. The first thing I'm thinking about when I bring a bike home is protection. And I basically won't even ride a motorcycle until I install a set of these. These are radiator guards. I'll do a whole video on installing these at a later date, but radiator guards. I'll even sometimes pick them up and order them before I even take delivery of the bike. That's how serious I am about these. Next, I find a window tint shop that also does clear bra, and I have the entire bike clear wrapped. And to kind of illustrate why this is such a big deal, we're gonna look at the old girl here. I'm gonna show you the only damage to the paint. I'm not even sure how well you're gonna be able to see this in camera, but on both leading edges of the fender, right here, right where the clear bra ends, I have 2 little chips where the bike actually wasn't protected. But going over the bike in much detail, you're gonna be hard pressed to find any paint damage. And this is the original clear bra I had put on when the bike was brand new. You look at the face of any other motorcycle of this age and mileage, and it's gonna be pitted and scarred. The headlights will be hazy. The headlights are oh so clear bra, that keeps them clear. This, more than anything else, keeps the motorcycle looking like new for years. And then I always run some form of axle slider on the front forks. Even in a minor tip over, if I drop it in the parking lot, it's gonna scratch up the bottom of the fork leg. That's expensive, it looks terrible, there's no way to make it look good. These are a must, and they're on every bike I own. Now, I tend to shy away from frame sliders, and I absolutely will not put any kind of slider on the rear swing arm. The rear swing arm is not designed for any impacts from the side. Putting sliders on the rear axle, more times than not, causes far more harm than it protects. However, I am a big believer in case guards, like these from GB Racing. These are far more protective and less destructive than pretty much any kind of frame slider out there. Case covers greater than frame sliders. The next thing I really want to do is I want to adjust all the controls to me. Lord knows how it was set up in the shop, or if you bought the bike used, Lord knows what the previous owner did to it. All of these controls are adjustable. Now I can tell you with all the coaching that I do, I know for a fact that a lot of riders never adjust their controls. A student comes to a school, not only are they trying to learn a new skill, but they're fighting with the controls in the wrong position. The brake lever's too low, the clutch lever's too high, the shift lever's in a weird position, so they're missing their shifts. And it slows down the learning process. How we interact with the motorcycle is super important. Biomechanically, we're all different. Every single one of us has a different shoulder to elbow to wrist ratio. And that's why the controls on your motorcycle are adjustable and need to be adjusted for you. Let's walk through it really quick. On your handlebar, you're gonna see the mounting bracket for your front brake master cylinder and your clutch perch. Loosen these 2 bolts just a little bit to allow this to wiggle up and down so we can fine tune the position for us. What we're looking for is a very neutral position, roughly from our elbow down to our hands. In this case, this brake lever feels too low for me, so I want to bring it up to where it feels very natural for my hand. The brake lever is exactly where I want it to be. And then holding it in place, we simply snug the perch back into position and then torque it back down according to the manual specifications. If you can't find that, look for it online. But we're not done yet. There's still another lever adjustment we need to consider. We also want to consider the distance the lever is from our fingers. Remember, we always ride with 2 fingers covering the brake. We want the lever to be in a comfortable position so that when we begin to squeeze it, we have good control so we can be precise. With this kind of lever, we push it forward, we can rotate this knob right here, and it'll put the lever where we want it. That feels more comfortable for me. We kind of want our first knuckle, the pads of our fingers, to be on the lever. We don't want it so far out that we have to reach up to get to it, and we don't want it so close that we're pinching our other fingers. We want it roughly on these pads. And now we're gonna do the same thing on the clutch lever. Now, if your motorcycle has tube handlebars like this, we can also adjust the angle of the handlebars. We'll follow the same process. We can loosen these 4 bolts all together, put the handlebar where we like it, and then snug them down all together. We don't want to tighten one than the other. It's going to twist this aluminum and it causes problems. But we have control over where this handlebar is. In my situation, I love where this handlebar is. I'm not going to touch it. Now, if your motorcycle happens to have clip-ons, and a clip-on is the handlebar clips on or bolts onto the top of the fork tube. Unfortunately, in most cases, there's no adjustment with these. They are at the angle that they are at. However, you can buy aftermarket clip-ons that might have a different sweep, a different height. They might be higher altogether or lower altogether. So even if the bike comes with something that's not adjustable, there are options for you to get the bike to fit you and your biomechanics. We're not done with our controls yet. We still have feet to deal with. So go get your riding boots. These are my riding boots, and they're chunkier than a lot of other riding boots, and my gosh, they are covered with bugs and are disgusting. And we're gonna make sure all the foot controls not only work with our biomechanics, but also work with our riding boots. The important foot control to consider is our shifter. We want the shifter to be in a very neutral position, not only for downshifts, which is easy, but also for upshifts. This lever is really low for me. I want to bring this up so it's easier for me to get my foot underneath it. Well, how do we do that? The shift linkage used by Ducati is a little different than most. But if we want the shift lever to be higher, we want to lengthen this arm. To do that, we loosen this jam nut right here, and then we remove the bolt on this knuckle. And then if we rotate this out 1 turn, it's going to raise that shift lever. A little bit of an adjustment makes a big difference, so make small movements. Let me show you how the more normal shift linkage looks. This is the style you're gonna see more often. We have a little threaded rod with 2 little jam nuts. One of these is reverse threaded. This thing here is the quick shifter. We wanna be careful not to torque on that. It's actually a delicate component. We wanna hold the rod steady so we're not putting pressure there. We'll break this free. This one will spin down. This one will also spin down. As we rotate this rod, even just a little bit, as I make the rod longer, the shift lever goes down. As I make the rod shorter, the shift lever comes up. So we can fine tune it very precisely to our foot, our boot, and get it exactly where you want it. That's the ultimate goal with all of these adjustments. The correct position is the position that works for you. When you snug it back up, you may want to try some blue Loctite. They do come loose, and when they do come loose, it'll completely unthread and your shift lever will be dangling and you won't be able to shift at all. Now, the rear brake. Unfortunately, on most motorcycles, it is a lot more complicated to adjust. You have to take the whole assembly apart. And I think for most riders, it's not really all that necessary. Hello, Chase. Oh, look who came to visit us. Chase came to visit us. Yes, a good boy, right in front of the camera. Yes, good job. Yes, yes. So honestly, unless this thing is really out of whack, it's usually just less effort to leave it alone. The front brake really should be our focus. The bike is now set up to fit us better. We have our basic protection on. Now it's time to go for a ride. Now, these first few rides are super important. We kind of want to work on a few things. I've been a professional motorcycle coach for over 25 years, from basic rider programs to advanced stuff on the racetrack. I'm a champion certified coach with Yamaha Champions Riding School. And what I think you should practice is probably different than what you've been hearing. Please don't worry about U-turns and that little fiddly stuff in the parking lot. Now, if you think that means I'm not very good at U-turns, I promise you I am. I'm quite good at U-turns. In fact, I could probably fill an entire video of me just doing U-turns on tight roads as I make these videos. First and foremost, nobody dies because they failed to do a U-turn. It's not that relevant to real-world riding. The other problem with all those little tight maneuvers is you have a new motorcycle. It's gonna feel differently. The weight's gonna be different. Listen, this is a heavy, tall motorcycle. I'm not especially very big. If I stand up straight and tall, I'm maybe 5'7". So when it comes to U-turns, I do what's called a foot-ready U-turn. Yamaha Champ School talks about this a lot in their new rider program, and that's I just keep my foot at the ready as I'm doing a U-turn. So on your new motorcycle, it's gonna feel weird, it's gonna be tall. If you find yourself in a situation where you need to do a U-turn or you need to get around through a parking lot, ignore all that internet, whatever, Reddit pressure about the importance of U-turns. They don't matter. Put your foot out, do your U-turn, don't drop your bike.
No.
Instead, what we wanna do is go out and ride some mellow roads, get used to what the bike feels like. And then we're gonna head to the parking lot and we're gonna practice the most important skill on a motorcycle, and that is stopping. Now, there's a very specific way I'd like you to practice stopping that's gonna yield you huge benefits. Let me explain to you what that's gonna look like. So here's how we wanna look at it. If this is pressure, if this is how hard we squeeze the brake lever, then this would be time. And to a certain extent, it's also distance. How most people stop is they'll grab the brake pretty abruptly, and then they'll kind of hold it at a relatively light pressure until they get to a stop, and they just let go. And it takes a long time for them to stop, and they don't really have a whole lot of control. And it's also really scary because this abruptness at the beginning and the end is bad. Our tires are like a spring. We're interacting with the motorcycle in a pretty sloppy way. What we want to go out and practice on our brand new motorcycle is we have our pressure, we have our time, is we want to think a lot about the first and last 5% of how we squeeze and release the lever. We want to ease the brake lever on, allow the weight to shift over the front tire, as they would say, wait for the weight. Once we get through that first 5%, then we can build pressure relatively quickly because the tire is loaded. We have weight over that front tire. We have a lot of grip. Once we get our pressure up, then we want to kind of trail it off to control where we're going to be stopping. It's going to look something like this. And at the very end, as we come to a stop, we want to release it really slowly so that the forks don't spring back up. That's how we're going to tell how well we did. So we're going to go out, we're going to practice. We're just going to go out and practice the first and last 5%. We're going to ramp on the brake, and then we're just going to ramp off the brake really gently just to feel what that feels like. We want to squeeze it until we can feel the brake start to grab, and then we want to release it and feel it come back up. And then we're going to practice some stopping where we're going to focus on our first 5%, build that pressure, trail off last 5%. Any questions? All right, let's go for a ride. This'll work. The other advantage that I didn't really talk about is that we need to bed in our brake pads to our brake rotors. It's a brand new motorcycle like this one. The rotors are brand new, the pads are brand new. They kind of need to scratch and rub into each other. This is the perfect way to break in your brake pads. Now, I just want to sneak the brake on and sneak it off. See what it feels like. There it is, and then off. So I guess I am going to be doing just a gentle little U-turn, foot out. I don't want to drop the bike. And then ease and release. Just practicing that 5%. I don't care about the U-turn. I don't want to drop my new motorcycle. Squeeze and release. Once we feel good about that, let's try a couple stops, see how it feels. See how good I can do on my first run. Oh, how'd that look? We'll have to look at the footage to see how good I was able to do. We'll try it again. Remember, we want to get through that first 5%, build pressure, and then trail it off so the forks don't rebound. That's what we're trying to achieve right here. See, I do all the really good stops when I'm not in front of the little camera to show you guys what it looks like. This one I'm going to do well. I'm going to do this one right. Oh, that's the winner right there. So yeah, the whole point of this is not necessarily to like push our limits, but we want to get familiar with the motorcycle. We want to get familiar with the brakes, and we always want to be focused on precision. That first 5%, we roll off the throttle to the first 5%. We feel the weight shift over that front brake. Then we build pressure, and then we trail it off so that the forks don't spring back up again. So it's a really controlled stop. That's going to give us a lot of feel for the front of the motorcycle, and that's going to build muscle memory so that when we find ourselves in kind of a panic situation, we don't fall back to grab abruptly to about 20%, hold it at 20%, and then, to whatever happens. Our front brake control is dynamic, and it's adapting to how much grip we have, to when we need to stop. I want to come to a nice smooth stop at the stop sign, or I need to stop before that deer in the middle of the road. The next thing, and I don't know how much time we have because there's a big storm coming right there, is go out and ride a mellow road. Don't go ride anything aggressive or really tight or really technical or really fast. We want to just ride a nice mellow road to help us become really familiar with the motorcycle where the weight is. Holy cow. Big lightning, I gotta get home. Once again, congratulations on your new motorcycle. Hashtag NBD, new bike day is the best day. Am I right? Thanks for hanging out with me today and playing with my new motorcycle as well. That was a lot of fun. If you'd like to learn more, I think you'll really get a kick out of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Ride on and ride well.